how are you? Roberta here and welcome to my channel. Today I am building a cute little cottage for a romance novelist. Got the idea because I've been into watching like romancy movies lately, so I thought it would be fun to build a house specifically for a romance writer. And in my mind I thought she would be a she and she would have a couple pets. So I do have this place set up for a cat and a dog, and it is a one bedroom. It's set up as a one bedroom, I should say, but if you would like to have a two bedroom, there's plenty of space for that. You could just remove the home office, and obviously that could be your second bedroom because it is a decent sized home office. So yeah, here I just laid out the floor plan. I did have a good idea of what I wanted the layout to be. I did jot it down on paper a little bit, so then it was very easy to figure out whenever it was time to start recording in game. But the roof line was another story. It was not something that I had pre-planned in my mind, and I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted it to work out, so I did fumble around with it a little bit. I knew that I wanted it to be a smaller home and have a little bit of a cottage feel, so I do think I ended up pulling that off. The front porch is covered by a roof, and then in typical Roberta Pancakes fashion, I end up covering the side porch here with a makeshift pergola. I just really like how that works out, and in a lot of builds there is such nice lighting, especially here in Brindleton Bay. The morning lighting comes in on this side of the house, so I didn't want to cover the back porch with a porch roof and then take away some of that natural lighting in the living room area. You'll see all that in just a little bit. But yeah, so here I'm just working on the exterior siding. I did a little mix of some wood siding, and then I added in some cedar shakes. I use this front door from the Cottage living pack, and then it ended up pairing really nicely with these windows from the Strangerville pack. I know those windows come in a pretty bright red, bright blue, bright green swatch. I almost never use those though, so I do think I'm going to do a sort of fun, colorful build sometime and use those. They just add the right amount of whimsical, I guess you could call it. Like in this build, I wanted it to have a very like romantic vibe about it, and those add just a little bit of something without being a little over the top. So, and then I'm using these shutters that we got with the Horse Ranch pack. I really love those shutters. I just wish that we would have gotten more color swatches with those. I know they come in this pretty blue that I use almost every single time I put these shutters on a house. I tend to gravitate toward this blue, and then there are a lot of nice wood swatches, but when you're going with beigey or light blue tones on your siding, I feel like sometimes a wood tone on a different colored wood tone don't really go. So if you do want a wood siding over, you know, maybe the more vinyl looking siding, the wood tones don't really work out. But yeah, sometimes I see other builders out there use them in more unique ways, but not, I just tend to go for that blue swatch, which is all good. Yeah, here I'm just framing in the front porch with some plants. I really wanted this house to not feel old. I did want it to have a cottage feel, but I wanted it to feel a little bit grown over, and I changed up my typical landscaping style. I know lately I had been using the hydrangea bushes and then those low-lying blue flower bush things. If you have been watching any of my recent videos, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because I feel like those are my very frequent go-to when it comes to get ground coverage around my homes. But in this one I decided to do some greenery, throw in some pretty pink and purple flowers, and then I added some sunflowers just for some height. I did size those up. I feel like they are rather small. I don't know, sunflowers in my mind are pretty big, so it just made sense to size those up. I did edit out a lot of the landscaping around the house. Here I'm just adding in a path from the front porch to the back porch. Whenever I have a house that doesn't line up with a street or a sidewalk, it makes sense for me to make a path of some sort, and I hate how sometimes they'll just go off into nowhere. Like I don't like when they just end, so here I'm sort of fading it out into the backyard, and then in the front it makes sense for me in situations like this to just connect the front porch to the back porch to give the appearance of a walkway without having to actually connect it to anything. So wow, we are already on to the furnishing portion. Here on the front porch, I wanted it to feel very flowery. I didn't add any garden plots or anything around back. I did put in a chicken coop toward the end of this video. You'll see me throw that in. But I don't imagine that the author that lives here would do a whole lot of gardening, but I do think flowers are romantic, and if you're a romance novelist, I just imagine that you'd have a lot of flowers around. So I do put some flowers throughout this build. There is wall-to-wall hardwood flooring. I do carry this flooring throughout. I do use a tile in the bathroom and the little laundry room area that I was able to fit in, and this flooring paired very well with the wood paneling that we got with the Horse Ranch pack. I like this paneling. I do change this white swatch from the white to a beige just because it felt a little softer and it wasn't as stark, because I was using the different colors as accent walls. You saw me do it here on the entryway. I added a little bit of a, I guess it would be like a medium blue here in the front entryway, and then I add a green on two walls here in the living room. You will see me in a second change from the white to the, here we go, there's the white, changing to the beige. It just felt a little bit softer. I carried the green on around the corner into the entryway, and then I do use a pretty yellow swatch in the dining area, though this nice sagey green does carry on into the kitchen. The kitchen, I feel like, is my favorite part of this entire house. It feels so big, yet so lived in and realistic and cozy. I love it so much. This entire house, I know I say it a lot about builds being my favorite, but I really think that this house is my new favorite. But yeah, here I'm just tweaking the positioning of the couch and the chairs. It did end up being a little bit tricky just because where I wanted to place the fireplace, the windows on that side, I wanted to look even from the outside deck area. So then in placing the fireplace between those windows, the fireplace is a little offset of the two windows on the opposite wall. So whenever I was trying to position the couch and those two chairs, it wasn't the windows behind the two chairs weren't framed evenly. So I was trying to position those to where it wasn't super obvious and it still looked like a natural living room setup without it being like off-centered, if that makes sense. I don't even know if you would have noticed if I wouldn't have pointed that out, but you will see me add a plant and then an off-centered wall decoration just to sort of balance it out. And I do think I pulled it off because this living room, even though it isn't even and the windows on both of those walls aren't symmetrical, you probably wouldn't even notice. The greens in the furniture were a pretty close match, but I think when you throw these throw pillows on the couch and on those two chairs, it really just makes that whole space feel more uniform. I really love those throw pillows. I hope in the future we get more with more textures. I would love some with more of a crocheted texture and a lot more colors, because I try to use those on all the furniture that I can. I throw those in cribs and I put them on beds, obviously, and all kind of chairs. So here I am just finishing up the living room area, and then I head on into the kitchen. Now I love this kitchen. I feel like it might be my favorite area in this whole house. I don't know what it is about the way it's set up, but it just feels so big and so inviting, and you just want to get the family together and cook a meal, which is kind of sad because this is a single sim that lives here. Maybe her friends come over and they cook a meal, but yeah, this feels like it could be a chef's kitchen. Maybe we could pretend that our author sim, in her spare time, she really likes food and she likes to cook because it helps inspire her for writing her next novel. I don't know. We can just go with it. You can have a nice kitchen and not cook. Maybe she's one of those people that has like a really beautifully set up kitchen and she just orders out all the time. I don't know. Anyway, here I did make this little makeshift modular area. I was going to make this a coffee bar space, and then I started putting in those shelving units from the Dream Home Decorator pack. And then I think the upper cabinets that I put in, I want to say those are base game, but don't hold me to that because they might not actually be. And then the shelves with the nice lighting underneath that we got with the Home Chef Hustle pack, it all just came together really nicely. And I think the only thing that's really functional on this side of the kitchen is the coffee pot. So technically, I guess it could be just considered a coffee bar space, but I just really love how it looks like there's tons of storage over there. Here on the side with the stove, I made sure to leave an open countertop so that your Sims would have a place to cook, though I do throw a kitchen island in because I wanted the sink to be on the kitchen island, so it was sort of out facing the dining space just in case our Sim here decided to have people over to entertain. I always like the look of, you know, your Sim washing dishes or prepping food facing, you know, the rest of the house rather than facing a window or a wall. So yep, I did not forget the garbage can in this build, but yeah, here I am just figuring out the layout of the kitchen island. I was going to do a sort of double layered island with a row of regular cabinets and then a row of the cabinets that you could sit down at, and then I realized that you don't really need that extra row because the sink snaps on nicely to it just like this, and it looks clean and simple. And then it also left me enough space that I could use a full-sized area rug and a full-sized dining table in the eating area. I throw in a couple of these corner shelves, and between it I put in a hutch. I believe this hutch came with the Cottage living pack, and I don't know what it is about that hutch, but it just feels so huge in its normal size. So I do use the tool mod to size that down a little bit, make it seem a little bit more realistic. And then here's where I throw in some pops of yellow, but I do put in green dining chairs that match the bar stools that are over at the island, just to tie the space all together. But then I did want to bring in some yellow so that it didn't feel overly green, because remember we used the blue accent wall in the entryway, some green accent walls in the living room, and then I wanted to throw in some yellow in the dining room. As we move on from the dining room to the outside patio area, I thought it would be a little much to have another set of table and chairs out here, just because this is only maybe potentially a 2-bedroom home. I didn't think that you needed that much extra eating space, so I thought this would be the perfect space to have our Sim have a little relaxing area where she can collect her thoughts and maybe write down some ideas for her next novel. So I did a little chase lounge out here, of course with some throw pillows on it. I did a little drink tray, and then I just add in some pet bowls and some plants just to warm the space up a bit. And then we head on inside to work on the final half of the house. Now, as we are moving on into the bathroom, I would like to just point out how nicely the wall tile that we got with the Home Chef Hustle pack and the floor tile that we got with the High School Years pack goes together. A few different color swatches of those two items go together so well. I know there's like a green wall that goes well with a beige tile in the same floor, and then there is the one with like the more yellows in it, and then there's the yellow tile. It really does pair well with one another. So yeah, I always just appreciate whenever I find two items, especially walls and flooring items from two separate packs, that the color swatches work so well together. So lately I've been really guilty of making smaller size bathrooms, so I was a little bit happy that I had some more freedom with the size of this bathroom, that I could do a stand-up shower. And I really like the tile in the shower and how well it complemented the tile on the wall in here. I threw in one of the shelves from the Home Chef Hustle pack with the lighting underneath, same as we used in the kitchen area. So I felt like it makes it a little bit more homey when you can clutter those spaces up. This is the only bathroom in the house, so if you did want to change the home office into a bedroom, it makes sense that, you know, this would be a shared bathroom, and so it would be pretty cluttered up. But yeah, we are moving right along, heading on into the bedroom, where the theme I went for in here was more of a classic grayscale theme. I settled on a bed, ended up pairing it nicely with a couple of nightstands that we got with the High School Years pack. I was going to use these curtains that we also got with the High School Years pack, but they felt a little bit juvenile, so I went with these dark gray ones instead, and I really end up liking the contrast between the dark gray curtains and that stark white wall. I do think I kept the very white wall in this room. I know I changed the paneling to more of the beige throughout the rest of the house, but in here that very bright white ended up working really well, especially in comparison with the rug and the headboard on the bed. There's a couple, items that I place around to really bring out the gold tones. I like how the handles on the nightstand and the little giraffe statues and the stand-up lamp in the corner, everything has those sort of brass tones to it, so it all ended up working together really nicely. Over here in the corner, I just throw in a dresser. I clutter it up on top, of course. I love my clutter, so I pair it nicely with a gray and white chair on the opposite side of the room. Over here, I start placing that. I do a little stand beside it, throw a lamp and a little plant and a little picture on there. With the shape of the room, I was able to squeeze a closet back there, so in order to just soften up this stark white of the room, I do put in a mirror and then a little collage of pictures, and then we head on into the office space. I love this space. It's very realistic, and it does feel like a space where a writer would spend a lot of their time. I do this sort of L-shaped desk where I put her computer on the one end, and it works perfectly. I was able to find two desks that matched up well enough to one another. The one is from university, and then the one where her computer will actually go is base game, I believe. But yeah, I just clutter up the wall on this side, and then on the right side of the wall here, I put another bookshelf, and then I'm able to actually fit in a wood-burning stove. I just thought that that warmed the space up a bit, and I think if our sim would be in here and spending lots of time in here writing, that would be a really nice touch. I mean, who wouldn't want a nice wood-burning stove in your office space? I didn't like how placing these pictures, paintings, was creating a shadow on that curtain. I don't know if it would have happened with all of the curtains, but it was sort of bugging me out a little bit. So I made it work so that it didn't look too wonky, but I really, really had my heart set on those being there just to sort of close in that space back there. And like I said, I wanted this to feel really cluttered and lived in, like this is where our Sims spent most, if not all, of their time while they're home. And yeah, so after we finish up this office space, we move on into the laundry room, which came together super quickly. It's a laundry room, so it's nothing too extravagant or, not a whole lot of thought went into it, but it's really cute. It's also very realistic and lived in. But yeah, I just want to take this time to say thank you so much for sticking around if you're still here. And yeah, I just really appreciate you watching my videos. If you are here from some of my other videos, you're awesome. If you subscribe to me, you are really awesome. If you would like to subscribe to me, I would really appreciate it. If you hit that notification bell, then you won't miss another one of my builds. So yeah, if you would like to upload this into your game, you can find this lot on the gallery. My ID is RobertaPancakes. All of the builds that I have here on my YouTube are on there. And yeah, here I am just finishing up adding the chicken coop, and then we are heading on into screenshots. I thank you so much once again for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, take care.